Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we've got another review. Today we're going to be reviewing this 2021 Toyota Supra Premium. So before I actually start this review, I did just want to give a big shout out to Sandstone Toyota on Route 1. This is where this car is right now and they're letting me review it. And you can actually just kind of pause the video on the window sticker right there. They're basically asking $54,490 for this car. The different payment options and stuff like that are actually on the sticker. But definitely be sure if you are interested in this car or other Supras, because as you can see, they have one in the back there as well as a gray one on the other side. And even if you aren't interested in this car in particular, definitely be sure to just check out the inventory. They have a bunch of new and used cars here. And again, huge thanks to them, huge shout out to them for letting me review this Supra today. So before I continue talking about this Supra, I did just want to go over kind of like the brief history of the Toyota Supra and just run through the different generations. So the Supra was first introduced by Toyota in 1978 under the A40 or Mark I Supra, and that generation actually lasted all the way up until 1981. And then they had the A60 or the Mark II Supra, which went from 82 to 85. The A70 or Mark III Supra, which lasted from 86 up until 93. And then you had the very famous, very iconic Mark IV Supra that actually lasted from 1993 until 1998. So that being said, guys, it's pretty obvious that the Mark V Supra is well long overdue. It's been over 20 years since the last Mark IVs rolled off the assembly line. So now moving on, I am going to be talking about the body of the Supra. Now, when the 2020 Supras first came out, the first year of the Mark V Supras, originally they were a little bit criticized because a lot of people said that the concept actually looked better than the final product. But honestly, these are one of these cars that look a lot better in person, in my opinion, than on camera. For some reason, cameras just don't do them justice. But you can really see from the side here that it definitely has a decent amount of heritage. From the side here, you can definitely see a lot of heritage from the Mark IV. You see the kind of wider fenders and the body line that kind of goes down to the side skirts, as well as just the overall like silhouette of the car. And also, if you go into the rear here, you can kind of see these lights. Now, yes, they're not kind of like the exactly like the Mark IV Supras, but they do kind of have that horizontal shape. And inside, they're not circular, but again, the shape, the overall shape is definitely there. Also, if you look on top of the car, this kind of double bubble roof design is actually originally from the Toyota 2000 GT. Another thing I did want to mention about this specific Supra is that it is finished off in the Absolute Zero factory white paint color. Now, this color is actually one of 8 exterior paint options available for the 2020 as well as the 2021. Now, out of those 8 exterior paint options, my favorite is actually the Nitro Yellow. I actually saw a 2020, I believe, Nitro Yellow Supra towards the beginning of the summer, and it was actually in one of my car show vlogs, so I'll put the clip in the video right now. But it looks really good in my opinion. But also this white does look really good as well. It does kind of contrast with the black accents as well. Also, the side mirrors here, you can see that they are actually finished off in this matte black. They are also available in a carbon fiber finish. And also, I did just want to mention the really aggressive LED headlights as well as, again, the LED taillights. I think they both look really good in my opinion. Now, this 2021 Toyota Supra does have a completely independent suspension with traditional McPherson style struts all the way around. And it actually does adapt to the driving mode in the car, which I'll talk about in a minute. But another thing to mention about the 2021 models is that they actually did stiffen the suspension, and I actually believe lower the ride height very slightly from the 2020 models. All right, guys, so now I'm going to be moving on to the wheel setup on this Supra. And again, the wheels and tires are the original wheels and tires that came with it from the factory, and they are 19-inch forged aluminum twin spoke wheels with this specific car actually has the dual tone finish. They also come in a matte black finish. And these wheels are actually wrapped in Michelin Pilot Super Sport tires, which are basically like kind of like high performance summer tires. So I do not recommend driving with these tires on in crappy weather. But in the front, they are 255 by 35s by 19s, and in the rear, they are 275s by 35s by 19s. Another really cool feature when you buy a Mark V Supra, they actually come with factory alloy wheel locks, so no one steals these wheels. You kind of find that in more high-end cars, so I do think that is something that is pretty minor, but also pretty cool that Toyota did. Now, another thing too, you can see underneath these wheels, I don't know the exact dimensions of these rotors, but you can see the big brake kit from factory. I don't know if that is actually double or triple piston. I think that's just double piston calipers in the front, as well with a single piston caliper in the back. But the rotors are pretty big, especially for something that is completely factory. All right, guys, so now I have the hood popped on this 2021 Toyota Supra Premium, and under the hood you can see the 3-liter double overhead cam 4-valve per cylinder inline 6 engine. Another thing you could see right off the bat when looking under the engine bay is a bunch of parts with the BMW logo or parts that say BMW on them, which, I mean, I know this car definitely does get critiqued a lot for kind of being like a copy of the BMW Z4, but it is, you have to keep in mind that manufacturers do kind of like joint cars like this all the time, especially to save money on resources. So anyway, to get back to this specific car, Toyota really did a fantastic job with this here, and anyone looking at actually getting a Mark V Supra, I highly recommend you get a 2021 over a 2020, because in 2020 it had the same exact engine, same exact drivetrain, except it came with 335 brake horsepower and 365 foot-pounds of torque. Well, in 2021, again, like I've been saying, they stiffen up the suspension. I don't know if these strut braces were here in the 2020 models. You can definitely tell that this year model, they tweaked some things that they kind of missed with the 2020, and they also bumped up the power. And this 2021 Toyota Supra Premium, it actually has a peak of 382 brake horsepower at 5,800 RPMs and 368 foot-pounds of torque at 1,800 RPMs. So just looking at those numbers, you can tell the torque didn't really change that much, but the horsepower, so the top end power, did change a lot. So I don't know what they actually did to it. I think they probably just honestly just tuned it a little bit better to, I guess, make more power. But honestly, looking at the miles per gallon numbers, it doesn't seem like they're really pushing the envelope, because it does still get great fuel economy, and I'll talk about that in a second. But one thing I don't really like about the Mark V Supras, and again, I don't really know that much because I haven't driven it yet, but they only come with a 8-speed shiftable automatic transmission. So I don't know, I just think that's a negative, because I personally like manual cars a lot better. I think they're a lot more fun, but then again, I mean, you've seen it with the 2020 Corvette, the 2020 GT500, as well as now the 2020 Supra. A lot of these newer sports cars are just coming in automatics because the automatic transmissions are getting so good and so responsive. So that's definitely one thing that I'm going to try to notice while I drive this thing today. Now, another thing too, this car is just kind of like a classic front engine rear wheel drive layout, and it also does have an electronically controlled limited slip differential in the rear that actually takes a bunch of factors into place when distributing power to both of the rear wheels. It actually takes in wheel speed, engine RPM, brake pressure, and I think like throttle, like how open the throttle is. So it's incredibly engineered. There's a lot of electronics in it. And another criticism that I do have, and this is not just for this specific Supra, but it's just for all modern cars in general really, is that plastic is literally covering everything in this engine bay. So I don't know what you'd have to do to kind of like work on it yourself if there was a problem. But again, this is not a specific criticism for Toyota or the Supra in general, but we are seeing this a lot nowadays with new cars. Now, I did just briefly want to mention the fuel economy numbers for this 2021 Toyota Supra. So like I said before, I don't really think they've reached the full potential of the Supra, and it's still very much kind of a factory car, because it actually makes 22 miles per gallon during city driving and 30 miles per gallon during highway driving, for a combined average of 25 miles per gallon. And with a 13.7 gallon fuel tank and a range of 300 city miles and 411 approximately highway miles, this is a very, very daily drivable car. And again, it does have the drive modes in it, and I'll be getting to that more in depth in a bit, but it does have sport, I think also track mode as well. I could be wrong, but there is a mode, like a comfort mode, that you can easily daily drive this thing to and from work every single day. So now I'm going to be talking about the interior of this 2021 Supra Premium, and the two actual interior options available for both the 2020 as well as the 2021 Premiums are this completely black leather interior, which is in this car, as well as a black with Alcantara accents interior. But I mean, just looking at this thing, this interior was very well done. Carbon fiber center console. You have these really rigid and also comfortable bucket seats that are also power seats as well, which is really cool. Now, one thing that is kind of funny is that there is a lot of BMW parts in here. I believe this door handle is BMW, and the controls right here are BMW as well. So now I'm actually sitting in the driver's seat, and the steering wheel feels incredible. Now, obviously, this car is brand new. It literally has 9 miles on the odometer. So we're going to bring it to double digits today, which is pretty exciting. And in the middle here, you can kind of see this. I don't know if this is touchscreen or not. I'll tell you guys in a little bit while we're actually out taking this thing for a drive. But really cool, very sleek design. Now, personally, you know, I don't really care about interiors that much, and I actually like more simplistic interiors than complicated interiors. And this, honestly, for something that is a brand new car, its interior is actually pretty simplistic, which some people might not like, but I think kind of less is more when it comes to interior. Now, in the center here, you can see the sport mode button, as well as you can actually shift it into a manual mode, and I believe either use the stick or the paddle shifters to shift, and it's just regular paddle shifters, upshift on the right as well as downshift on the left. I know I drove a C6 Corvette, and you can like literally go up or down on both sides, and it was kind of throwing me off. But I've heard that this transmission is extremely responsive, so I cannot wait to drive it. And of course, we are going to be putting it in sport mode and seeing what it can do. But yeah, I mean, without further ado, guys, we're going to take this thing out for a drive. But yeah, I did kind of just want to show you guys the interior before we take this out.
You good?
All right, guys, so now I'm actually driving this 2021 Toyota Supra, and it is like, it's actually unbelievable. I'm driving this right now. It's so cool. The odometer actually still has 9 miles on it. So we are going to put we just put the 10th mile on it right now. I just drove it off the lot, and we're kind of on local roads right now. But we are going to go out to the highway in a bit. I have it in manual mode. It sounds so awesome too. That's why I kind of have the windows down. I don't know if that's gonna affect like my voice audio that much, but I'm not gonna really like rip it because it literally has 10 miles on it. But I just did kind of like half throttle back there, and you hear the turbo spool up, and it's in sport mode too. So when I downshift, it pops like crazy. I have to say too, everything that everyone has been saying about these transmissions is completely true. They are extremely responsive, which is just awesome, and it is still fun. I actually kind of like using the paddle shifters a lot more than actually using the stick. All right, little downshift in a second. Oh yeah. Again, I'm not going full throttle, but you can hear the blow-off valve, the pops, the turbo noises. It's just, it's really, really fun, this car. Now, one pretty obvious criticism that I have is the rear visibility sucks. It's very, very bad. So I guess that's one thing that definitely does take away from the daily drivability of this car. And another thing too, I do have it in sport mode, so you can feel every single bump. And it is very, very tight, which is awesome for taking corners. But if you are gonna daily drive it, I do suggest, you know, just keep it out of sport mode, and it's a lot more comfortable. Honestly, how this car is, again, it's a brand new car, so it's hard to really critique it, but you can probably go for like 100 miles in this thing. You take this thing for a road trip. It's very comfortable in here. Yeah, and again, I'm still kind of on local roads, so I can't really test out the handling too much, but I mean, there's no slop whatsoever. Very, very little body roll. One thing that a lot of people have said that has improved from the 2020 to the 2021 Supra, obviously besides the power, is the body roll. It's a lot more stiffer, like I said before, which definitely does make it probably a lot more fun to bring it to a track. Wow. So another thing too is that, again, this car, this Mark V Supra, was designed in, I guess, joint with BMW. So it does feel like a Z4 when you're driving this. And a lot of people said that it actually reacts the same as well, like mechanically. I wouldn't really know because I haven't driven a Z4, but here, we're on the highway now. I'm just gonna give it a little bit. Yeah, every single pull that I did with it was like around half throttle, a little bit over the half throttle, because I don't want to beat it up. It's literally brand new. I don't want to damage anything. And again, huge shout out to Sansone Toyota in Avenel, New Jersey on Route 1 North. Definitely, please be sure to check out their website, linked down below in the description. It was a honor to drive this car today. They also have a few other Supras, including the new 4-cylinder 2021 Supra that I may be doing as well on the channel, so subscribe if you haven't already. And like always, guys, thank you for all the support, and I'll see you guys in the next one.